Hello and welcome to Cafe DC. I'm Faiz Rahman and this is our episode from New York, and the reason is we have a very wonderful personality with us today, Dr. Maliha Lodhi, one of the most well-known Pakistani and Muslim women, not just in Pakistan but around the world, and now she's serving as ambassador or Pakistan's permanent envoy, permanent representative at the United Nations. Without further ado, we'll just go to her directly. Dr. Saab, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
I couldn't be happier after a long time. And welcome back to America.
Thank you. Although I have come to represent Pakistan at the United Nations.
Exactly. Yes, you have, but people in the community, because you've been an ambassador twice, not just once, in DC, and people still remember you. And remember those days with lots of affection and lots of admiration, not for your professional work but for your personality and your interaction with the community from Los Angeles to New York.
Well, I'm humbled to hear that. Of course, I have very, very good memories of my relationship with the Pakistani American community. I think it's a great community, especially the younger generation who are in so many different fields of life now in the United States, and keeping the flag flying, keeping their connection with their country of heritage, their country of origin. So I think for me it was really a wonderful experience to have worked here in two different periods.
Exactly.
Two very challenging periods, and this is as
even
challenging.
When you were, when
Yes.
you were ambassador twice, all those two I think durations were very challenging as well.
Yes, they were. I mean, the first time, if you remember, Faiz, and we've known each other for a long time
Absolutely.
too, and we worked together. The first time, of course, my mission mandate was to try to get the United States to remove layers and layers of sanctions that they'd imposed on my country.
And I remember your very famous expression, the most sanctioned ally.
That's right.
This was your coinage.
From the from the most allied ally to its
your
most sanctioned
sanctioned.
friend.
Do you still feel the same? Or
No, I think
things have improved?
yes, I think the bilateral relationship is on a much more positive track. I think the trajectory looks good, but I think there's still a lot of work to be done, because we are now in the post 9/11 decade, if I can call it that. I think we've left that period behind, and the relationship that was forged at a time of crisis obviously is very different from the relationship that we're trying to construct now, which has a very strong, hopefully in the future, economic and investment dimension. So I think I leave that to my colleague in Washington to explain.
Before it was a bilateral
Yes.
assignment, now it's a multilateral
That's
assignment. So what's different? I mean, in terms of your day-to-day interaction and working, I think it's much more challenging, because you get to see and get to interact with so many.
Well, it's, Faiz, I see it in the following way, which is, bilateral, you obviously try to build relationships with the country to which you're accredited. Here you're trying to really build relationship with 193 countries along with the Secretariat of the United Nations. So I think for me it's a great professional challenge. I am obviously looking forward to working with my team. I don't see myself as a boss here. I see myself as a team leader. The team has been.
That's how you've been all along. I know you.
The team
not
has
just as
been,
a journalist, as editor, but
yes,
also as ambassador.
because frankly, no single individual, no matter how experienced he or she may be, without a team, you are nothing. And I'm very fortunate because I have a very good team at our mission in New York. And actually, the first few days and the first few weeks, they will be guiding me. But after a while, after a while, of course, I will also explain my priorities, which reflect the priorities of Pakistan right now. And you know what these priorities are, but I can just repeat those. I mean, our national priorities are very clear. The first priority is to ensure that we establish internal peace and security, and that means the defeat of militancy and the defeat of violent extremism. Our second national priority is to ensure that economic growth revives, that the economy is on an upward trajectory, and that we have the kind of inclusive development that reaches, whose benefits reach the people of Pakistan, and that means addressing the energy crisis and a number of issues in this area. Thirdly, Pakistan's national priority is to assist and help in whatever way that Kabul wishes us to help in the stabilization of Afghanistan. That is key for us because our destinies are intertwined, they're interlinked. Peace and security in Afghanistan will be good for peace and security in Pakistan, and vice versa. The border needs to be managed. And the fourth national priority, which is also an overriding priority, is to be able to achieve normalization of relations with India, but on the basis of sovereign equality and on the basis of mutual respect and on the basis of resolution of outstanding differences, including of course the outstanding dispute of Kashmir. So, we look towards both our international partners as well as of course our internal government machinery to ensure that we achieve these objectives. Many are interlinked. You can't have economic growth unless you achieve enough peace and security in the country. You can't have peace and security unless the economy is growing. So, I think the government headed by Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is working very hard in promoting this agenda internally and externally. And I come to the UN with these broad national priorities, and then of course, the significance of 2015 is that this year marks the 70th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. So, that means that there will be a series of events and of course, a very high level summit during the General Assembly session, which will begin in September, where we will also see the conclusion of a dialogue that has been going on between all the member states of the UN on carving out and crafting the post 2015 development agenda. So, we have been coming up, all the countries, in negotiations with what are called sustainable development goals, and really the summit will look at what these goals should be. There will be a declaration, and what mechanisms will be available through the UN and outside the UN to achieve these sustainable development goals. I think Faiz, along with this, as you know, Pakistan is one of the largest troop contributing countries to international peacekeeping efforts, UN peacekeeping efforts. We are number 2 right now, but in June, inshallah, we will be the number 1 troop contributing country. Most of our deployments are in Africa. There is also in the coming days a peacekeeping conference that the Secretary General has called in New York. So, there will be plenty of issues and plenty of areas for me and my team to deal with as we promote Pakistan's vital interests, but also ensure that Pakistan has a voice on global issues, be they global issues of peace and security, or whether they are global issues of development and economic matters.
Ambassador, I'll call you Ambassador, and then I'll call you Dr. Sahiba.
I think you should call me Maliha, because you have known me for such a long time.
Between these three, I will just
we have known each other for more than 2 decades.
All the titles and the
no, I think we'll cut out the titles. Let's get to Maliha.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. So Maliha, basically, you have mentioned all the positive signs and signals and the waves that you've seen in the region, and that's good. But at the same time, there are some challenges. You see the changes happening in the Middle East. Pakistan, even though it's not in the Middle East geographically, but it's still a part of it. And whatever happens in the Middle East also affects not just politics, but there are lots of social impact on Pakistan. So, in your work as this multilateral organization, how do you see meeting those challenges, the changes which are not so favorable sometimes could be difficult to manage for Pakistan in this?
Well, I think the Middle East and the kind of instability that we're seeing and the emergence of a new threat, a new challenge, Pakistan has a voice in helping the international community address this challenge. We're not the only voice, obviously. The Security Council, of which we are not a member right now, is seized of this matter and has been dealing with this issue in many ways. And of course, the more powerful countries have been also intervening in this crisis in their own way. But I think for us, our ability to achieve our domestic goals becomes the most important. And in that regard, I would say that I would like very much to see my mission here as a mission which also changes the narrative about Pakistan. Because as you know, there are many negative perceptions about Pakistan, misperceptions in my opinion, and mischaracterizations. Now, that doesn't mean that Pakistan doesn't have internal challenges, and those challenges are not of an imposing kind. Of course they are. But at the same time, I think my effort will also be to make the international community at the United Nations aware of the kind of efforts that Pakistan is making to address, for example, the challenge of militancy, the challenge of border management between Pakistan and Afghanistan. I mean, number of issues on which I think sometimes the media driven images do not quite reflect the reality on the ground. So I think on Afghanistan, for example, because you also mentioned that earlier in one of your questions, there is a good story to tell, because after a period of tense relations between the two countries, we have, with the advent of President Ashraf Ghani's government and his assumption of power, seen, and his visit to Pakistan in November, and I've often say that it was a 3-day visit, and during this visit he and the Prime Minister of Pakistan were able to, in 3 days, they were able to address the challenges of the last 13 years.
And basically revamp.
And reset the relationship and, take it in a much more positive direction. So at this time, I think there is a sense of optimism in Pakistan. That doesn't mean that we minimize the challenges, but optimism about what can be achieved between Pakistan and Afghanistan in the stabilization of the region and ensuring that this part of our region sees the kind of stability that has eluded it in the past.
Melia, you mentioned the resetting of Afghan and Pakistan relations. Afghan and Pakistan issue is not just an issue to these two countries. I mean, it involves the wider region and also the international community. Yes, it seems to be a little reorientation between Pakistan, Afghanistan and the United States. But there is also an important player in the region, which is India. Do you think there is building, you see some kind of a consensus building when it comes to the regional security, that all these major players, even China, they're on the same page, or you still see some difficult moments?
Well, I think first of all I would say in response to your question that it is in every regional state's interest to see the return of peace and security and stability to Afghanistan. I don't think any country in the region would wish otherwise, because it is in their fundamental national interest. I think you mentioned China, and rightly so, because we in Pakistan see China's enhanced engagement with Afghanistan, both on the economic and other tracks. It is also now playing a role, or wishes to play a role, in assisting the process of intra-Afghan reconciliation, which we also want to do. But we recognize, of course, that this is a sovereign issue. We will do whatever Afghanistan wishes, but the process must be Afghan owned and Afghan driven. So I think there are many positives in this picture. Where I would say there is a sense of disappointment in Pakistan is over the lack of movement in the normalization process between Pakistan and India. As you know, our Prime Minister reached out when the new government assumed office in Delhi. He even attended the inaugural, he responded to the inaugural invitation of Prime Minister Modi. But since then, we have not seen the resumption of the peace process, which is absolutely essential. And not just because of the stabilization of Afghanistan, because of its own intrinsic value. Pakistan's policy at the moment is really to promote a peaceful neighborhood. It sees a peaceful neighborhood as essential to achieve its domestic goals of both acquiring greater stability as well as economic revival. So you can see why Pakistan would be hugely interested in pushing this process forward. But it takes two hands to clap, it takes two to tango. We cannot do this without having a negotiating partner. And we're still waiting for Delhi to respond to our various calls for the resumption of this broad-based comprehensive peace process. It'll be good for the region, it'll be good for the world, and it'll certainly also aid the stabilization of Afghanistan.
Another important issue for Pakistan is the talk of expanding the Security Council, the permanent members, the number of permanent members of the Security Council. And during President Obama's visit to India, India has been mentioned as one of the candidates, or probably one of the prime candidates to join the permanent membership. What you think, and would it affect, or would it be part of your job to see how that plays out?
Well, Pakistan has always been in favor of reform of the United Nations, and not just the Security Council, but other areas in which we can all help to make the United Nations more effective and really more relevant also. So from that perspective, Pakistan's position on Security Council reform is also based on principles. It is based on the desire or the premise that such an enlargement of the Council should be in line with democratic principles. It should make the Council more transparent, more representative and more effective. Now, different countries have different views about how to enlarge the Council. We believe that the way to enlarge the Council, which would make it more democratic, is to add to the non-permanent members. Because if you add to the permanent members, what you are doing is basically enlarging a club of privilege. So, we do not want to enlarge a club of privilege, because that will defeat the very purpose of the reform. But if you enlarge the non-permanent membership, then what you are doing is you are giving more countries an opportunity to serve on the Council and to have their voice heard and to make the Council much more effective. So, I think yes, this year we will see different ideas for reform emerge. They have been there on the table for some time now. And my mission or my job will be to promote and project Pakistan's position on this issue. And as I said, this position is based on principles.
But that position absolutely is not like just one country specific.
No, it's not specific to a country. It is about how do you make it more transparent and more democratic.
Well, on this note, we'll take a very short break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about your previous experience here in this country. So please do stay with us.
The contribution of the Pakistani American community to philanthropy, I mean, this is a very giving community, I mean, in Pakistan also.
Welcome back. Okay, Maliha, so we did talk about lots of
Right.
policy and other international issues. So let's come back here to the States. In your previous gigs, quote unquote, you interacted, as I said before, with the community a lot, and you were a very successful ambassador, coming from a very different background. You came here as a journal diplomat,
That
so to
is true.
speak.
That is true.
And then,
Which I still am.
yeah, and then you saw that job very differently, and I'm very happy to say and report that even though I was also part of the Pakistani American community, I was in Los Angeles back then.
That's right.
But we were interacting through Pakistan Link and other outlets. So how do you see that things that you planned, things that you did in those days now have blossomed? You see so many kids doing so many wonderful work, not in just the executive branch of this country, but also at Congress, private institutions, organizations, non-profits in Silicon Valley.
That's right.
So what's your impression? Have you been
Well, I
interacting
think,
with them?
yeah, I mean, from time to time, because I kept visiting the United States, attending conferences and sometimes attending events that were being planned by some of the non-profits. I have to say that it's an extraordinary community. It has excelled in so many areas of life. It has a presence in practically every field. Obviously, my interaction in those years were a great deal with Pakistani physicians and APNA, because at that time they were the most organized community within
the largest
our,
group and
within our
exactly,
community.
exactly.
I think it's still a very significant organization. I'm not for a moment suggesting that it has weakened in any sense, but obviously there are other areas in which our community and our diaspora has gone into. So I would say, in a way, what they have done is to learn the lesson of engagement with their country of adoption or their country of birth for the third generation that's here now, and engagement in every sense of the word. That you engage with the society around you, you engage at your workplace, obviously, with your colleagues. But also, I think I remain impressed by the fact that they also continue to engage with their country of origin. And I have seen, for example, the flowering of the non-profits in terms of the philanthropy.
Education, health, in
absolutely.
those areas. Yeah.
So I think whether these are, causes like DIL, causes like the Citizens Foundation and LRBT, but I mean, we can go on.
Exactly.
I mean,
there's so many.
They're not just these; there are many more. So I think our contribution, the contribution of the Pakistani American community, to philanthropy. I mean, this is a very giving community. I mean, in Pakistan also, we are amongst the top nations in terms of how much we give to philanthropy, to charity. So, you know, that's an area that has really, I think, emerged as a very significant form of contributing to Pakistan. And I think for the younger generation, as you rightly say, they are much better positioned now in think tanks, on the Hill. You see many more, but I would still say we need to see even more.
Even more. The good thing is both countries, Pakistan as well as this country, at the highest level, they realize that this community is a great asset and resource for building even better relationships between Pakistan
Yes,
and
of
the United
course. I
States.
mean, this
And
is a
we
bridge
yes,
between the two countries, and it's a living bridge
exactly.
that ties the countries two together and does so much that makes it possible for the two governments to really have a better relationship.
Right. And you rightly mentioned all these organizations, but there are individuals
Yes,
who
of
are
course.
also
Yes,
at
sure.
their own level.
Sure.
They're just going out and helping their own small
Yes,
villages
absolutely.
and, you know, cities
Sure.
and neighborhoods. So this is good. But at the same time, Malia, there have been some disappointments for the community.
Well, tell me about them because
Well,
I don't know that
yeah.
much about that
I mean,
anymore.
and I'm not saying something new here, but I think this is my duty as part of this community to also bring this up. With you at least, that, you know, yes, they try to do a lot of stuff for Pakistan and for this community, but the reception or the what you call the receptivity at the end, the other end, hasn't been that great. There are some red tape issues, bureaucratic entanglements. So what, I don't know, it's not part of your job.
No, it's
but
not.
when-
This is, I think, being done by
Yes.
my
Yes.
my sort of worthy colleague in
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Ambassador Jelani.
Yes, but
So-
it's just to, you know, bring up. I think this is something that we need to see. First of all, right of vote for the Pakistani Americans. They can also not just contribute through their financial resources, but also through their votes. Maybe you know, help bring about some more positive changes in Pakistan. So this is something.
But you
to
know,
just
Faiz,
for the
I think it's more important for them to participate in the political process of this country, because that is the means then to influence positive changes in terms of how they can improve the relationship between Pakistan and the United States. So I would say that yes, of course, I'd want them to retain their links with Pakistan, sure. But at the same time, I would want very much for the Pakistani American community to participate even more than they have. And I think they have been participating in the political process in this country, whether it's at local level, whether it's at state level, or whether it is at the federal level. Key for any community.
engagement, involvement,
Absolutely,
and talking to your-
engagement, and I would say communication.
That's
I mean,
a very good point.
Yeah,
That's a
I
very
mean,
good point, yes.
if you do not communicate what you want, nobody will know about it, and nobody will do anything about it. So I think communication in the era that we live in becomes of prime importance.
Right. And over the years, we have seen this change by
Yes.
this positive change. I mean, there's been
Yes.
a good uptick in engaging
That's right.
with the local
That's right.
politicians, not just members of Congress, but at the local level, mayors, councillors, and you know, fire departments. I have seen that
Yes,
myself.
it's very good.
I know, Maliha, you came here on this snowy, rainy day. You didn't have to, but I really am honored to have
It's
you
my
here.
pleasure.
And
And I need you to wish me luck for my new assignment. You know,
I
it's,
did. I think already didn't.
but
I?
it's very complicated multilateral diplomacy. So I
I
need
know,
extra
absolutely.
luck to be wished to me.
Not just luck, whatever can be done. I don't know if we can do much in the community for this job, but there's
But I hope
anything-
to
yes,
also
yes, you have our-
maintain my contacts
Yes.
with many people who have become friends.
Absolutely.
So I hope, like yourself.
Yes.
So it's not just a question of my professional sort of assignment and obligation. It's also something
Wish
that
you
I
all
would.
the best. Wish you, and
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you'll be very successful,
Thank you.
like you have in other assignments, not just
Thank
here,
you.
but
That's very
at home.
kind.
And in all capacities and roles, as a journalist and as an editor. So it's lovely.
Thank you.
You know, having you here.
Thank you.
And again, thank you very much for.
And I would invite VOA to come with me for a tour of the United Nations.
Please do that.
So you're most welcome,
absolutely.
anytime.
Either if I can't make it, I'll send some of
Sure,
my
sure.
colleagues and
We want to
associates
show you how
yes.
it works.
Thank you very much
My pleasure.
to join.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And thank you very much for watching Cafe DC from our New York bureau.